Here we have our 990FX. Today we'll be doing an operational video. Located behind our machine is our power panel. We'll start with turning on power at the knife switch. This will supply power to the machine. On the FX we have two FRLs, one for the machine, one for the 6-shooter. So we also have our moisture catches, and we also have an oiler. You'll want to drain the moisture catch as water accumulates. So now that the power is on at the panel, we're going to turn on our air. We have labels signifying that you want 90 pounds, and you'll want to adjust your regulator accordingly. Located at the front of our machine, we have our operator station, which consists of a control circuit to turn on and off the machine, store program for when you're calibrating, start machine, and our emergency stop. Now let's turn on our power to our control circuit. This will turn on the computer to the machine. Now that the HMI is loaded on the screen, we can hit our start machine button. Once the start machine button is pressed, the hoppers will start loading screws. Here we have our light curtain system. Notice that the light is blinking one time, which symbolizes light curtain reset required. We will reset the curtain, symbolizing no one is inside, and now it's blinking 2 times because the servo is not homed, which we'll do on the HMI right now. With our light curtain cleared and our machine is happy, we can finally home the machine. Here we have our main screen with our feed settings, door specifications, lock parameters, hinge parameters, and 6-shooter parameters. On our feed settings, we have auto feed mode, which will bring in the door, clamp up. We have feed through, which will simply just feed the door through. And we have auto unclamp, which will unclamp the door as soon as the cycle is done. We have our auto width, which will adjust the back section to whatever width the door is. Door lengths, 6870. This is our back section. So this will be your lock location 1, lock location 2, or lock location 3. For this particular machine, we have only one location. You can go disabled, shallow, or a full-on face bore. We have our bolt drill and our face plate, which can be disabled. We also have our back sets at 2 3/8 or 2 3/4. We also have our ball catch. Here we have our hinges. So you can disable or enable the router and the pre-drills. You can also disable heads individually. And this is our hinge bevel for a 3-degree or a 0-degree door. Here we have our 6 shooters. You can turn them off individually as you would like. Our screw drop button, which either drops the screws for the hinges, or you can run it disabled, which will not drop screws. Our load button will load the hoppers. Air injection will push any screws towards the 6-shooter, and clear screws will push the 6 shooters through to clear any screws that might be jammed in there. We also have our presets up top. You can add, modify to your specifications. Here we have our stop sequence in case you needed to stop the sequence for any reason. Our home button, our reset, which will reset the program. Shut down, so that'll be at the end of the day when you're ready to go home, shut the machine down. And you can also exit the application to view the desktop. Let's go into our manual screen. Here we have our width adjust, door stops, door clamp, narrow door option, feed, reverse and forward. We have a buffer table with this machine, so we have the option of reversing and forward there. This is for our back section lock location. This is for our heads. We can also clear the screws for the hoppers, load screws on the hoppers, air inject the screws if they are not at the 6-shooter, and we can also shift in and out the 6-shooter. Here we have our dump screws with our quick dump option on the hoppers, which will simply open the back hatch and dump the screws out. And here we have our rerun button. So if your 6-shooter did not apply the hinges correctly for whatever reason, you can disable or enable whichever one had the issue, click rerun, and as soon as you clear your light curtain, it'll run again. If you were to ever change the Ryertex on your face bore, you would have to burn the chip out with this button. If you were to replace the Ryertex for your hinges, you would have to burn it out with this button. We also have a test mode button, but that's usually just used by the Kval techs. Now let's go into our setup screen. Here we have our base location for the lock bore, which normally you shouldn't have to touch. It should be calibrated from here. We can adjust our 6/8 left hand or right hand location, 7/0 left hand, right hand location. So if we go into our setting, it'll be a positive number for going to the right, and then a negative number for going to the left. We also have our routing times for the lock and the hinges, and this is our screwdriver or 6-shooter locations. So if your 6-shooter was out of pocket for any reason, you would just simply calibrate it, positive to the right, negative to the left. Here we have our in-feed stop timing and our out-feed stop timing. So this would be used if your door was not meeting with the door stop in time. You would either shorten it or extend it, but if the door was not meeting it in time, you would have to extend it. Now let's go into our diagnostic screen. Here we have all the status of what the machine is doing. If you had a problem, you would definitely want to go into this screen and see what happened, because it will tell you. So if you wanted to change out your screws for any reason, maybe you wanted to change the color, you'd want to go into your manual screen and you would simply hit dump screws. After it's pressed, the hoppers will open and the casters will go up and down, making sure all your screws are cleared. Now you'll want to load the screws into your hopper in the downward position. We'll pull up the flap and simply just load the hoppers in while it's in the downward position. And after that's done, you'll want to come hit the load button, and that'll move the hopper up and down 5 times to make sure that screws are in your caster. Here we have our control panel located on the right side of the 6-shooter. We have our start sequence button for when the door is clamped, our jam is clamped, and we're ready to start the process. We have our right hand, auto, and left hand. So the right hand will be for right hand doors, left hand for left hand doors, and the auto would be used if we had a machine similar to, say, a 558 that will send the signal and the specifications to the 990. Therefore, you wouldn't have to use the left or right hand toggle switch. We have our unclamp if you didn't want to use the foot pedal, and we also have an e-stop. Here we have our foot pedal. It has a door clamp and jam clamp. Typically, when the machine is in auto feed mode, it'll clamp up the door by itself, and you would have to hit the jam clamp after your jam is seated. But after the process, you will have to hit the door clamp to release the door onto the next process. Okay, now that the machine is happy, we are home, screws are loaded, let's begin running a door. I'm going to turn on my auto feed mode. This is going to be a 6/8 door, right hand. For my lock location, I'm going with 44. I'm going to go with a full-on through lock bore with the bolt drill on and the faceplate with the 2 3/8 back set. And I'm also going to run our ball catch for this one. Our hinges, the routers are on. Pre-drills, I'm going to turn on right now. Hinge 1, 2, and 3 are on. We're going to use a 0 door. Our 6 shooters are on, 1, 2, and 3. And we're also going to turn on our screw drop so it sends screws to this 6 shooter. With auto feed on, we will now feed in our door. It'll automatically size the door's width and it'll automatically clamp the door when it's in position. Now with the door clamped up, it's time to seat our jams. So we will come in. Since it's a right-hand door, the door stop is on the left side. Just make sure it's nice and seated and hit your jam clamp button. Also be mindful with the vertical cylinders because they will pinch you. With the door clamped up and the jam clamped up, it's time to put our hinges into our 6 shooters. When applying the hinges into the 6 shooter, you'll want to give it a little wiggle to make sure it's flush. Now with our door clamped, jam clamped, and our hinges in our 6 shooters, it's time to run a cycle. So we're simply going to hit the start sequence button, and then we will hit the hinges loaded button to clear the curtain, and the 6 shooters will come in. Now that the cycle is complete, we will hit our door clamp and it will release it to the next machine. So we've created this scenario where the hinge 2 was not applied. So all we're going to do is grab a new hinge, throw it in the 6 shooter number 2. Then we're going to come to our HMI, go into our manual screen, disable screw 3 and screw 1. We're going to leave screw 2 enabled. We're going to enable the run. And then once we hit the hinges loaded button, it'll run the hinge 2 back in. Now that hinge 2 is applied and we're happy with our door, we'll just release it with the door clamp. Now we will e-stop the machine. Notice the display. So with the machine e-stopped, power is cut. So what you will have to do is release your e-stop, start machine. You also have to hit the hinges loaded. And now we're ready to homer back again. Now that it's the end of the day and it's quitting time, we'll shut down the machine. You'll simply want to just hit the shutdown system button. The computer is now shutting down. We will have to wait for it to tell us that it's okay to turn off the power. Now that it says it's safe to turn off the computer, simply just turn off your control circuit. Now that we have power off at the operator station, we will cut power at the control panel with the knife switch.